We start with roll call. Marjorie?
Here.
Larry?
Here.
Bill Goldsmith?
Here.
Mary?
Here.
Steve?
Here.
Bill Smith?
Here.
Mayor is here. All present on the dais. We also have our town treasurer, our town clerk, our town administrator, our zoning administrator, and our town attorney. Thank you very much. And a number of good citizens in the gallery. Thank you very much. Can we all now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as always, I am reminding you, please put your phasers on stun. That means
Silence your phones.
silence your
And
phone.
Barbara speak.
Star Trek. Some of us grew up
I'm used
doing science fiction. You're used to Barbara speak. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's start off with approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented for the August 11th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Vote, Marjorie?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Mary? Yes. Steve?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Mayor votes yes. Okay, check that one off. Let's see, we've got, I don't see on here,
Public comment, it says.
well, I see public comment. I don't see, where do we have approval of the minutes?
That's under action
Down on
items.
number 8.
Okay, all right, so let's go on to public comment. Do we have anyone who signed up for, look at that. Mr. Mayo, please come up here, take the microphone.
Make sure your red light's on.
It's on.
Okay.
My name is William Mayo. I live at 320 Rappahannock Avenue. A couple of meetings ago, something went on in here, and I didn't think a whole lot of it. It's just me. But they passed taxes. Councilman Tunin wasn't involved in it. Why? He didn't know nothing about it. He said, "When did y'all do this?" And they passed. Y'all passed it. Larry voted no. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's very professional. All y'all on town council, every one of y'all should have a voice. And I don't think it was right when Larry said, "What did y'all do? What are y'all doing? When did this happen?" Isn't that correct?
Well, I thought we needed budget work sessions because I wasn't totally aware of what was going on,
Yeah.
and I needed some help. And that may have been my fault as much as anything else, but
Well,
it's
I'm
nothing
not-
wrong with having budget work sessions.
I'm not trying to blame it on anybody's fault. I just,
Yeah.
it didn't look right as far as I'm concerned.
We had discussed it.
Okay, thank you.
It had happened. Thank you.
Yeah, and as a point of clarity, there were multiple budget work sessions. It was over a process of months. The budgets were presented to council, either in hard copy or emails through the process. Finance committee meetings are open to the public, I believe.
Yes.
Nobody ever shows up, but they're open to the public. And so these things were all discussed multiple times between starting at the end of February and when the decisions were being made through the May, June timeframe.
So there was absolutely nothing undercover here.
Well,
Everything
you
was out.
all understand that I was not in favor of increasing taxes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Got that.
I want point of order, if I don't like that term, which our newly group have brought up, is if you had a budget work session, you had it with your group, and that was your committee. And yeah, you talked about it from time to time, but we didn't have an organized budget work session like most organizations do.
It was on the agenda, and we had discussed it openly here.
Yeah, but I guess that's, I'm taking what you're saying under advisement, but when we present budget to the entire council in writing and ask for feedback, then that's what we're looking for. And when none comes, then
Well-
it's, you know what they say about assuming something, but the truth is that there was plenty of opportunity to discuss things that weren't felt appropriate.
I made myself clear.
We got it.
And then when I asked for you all to find a penny on the tax rate, you couldn't find it. And then the COLA thing comes up, and you could find $5,000 for that. And then we end up having $22,000 extra a month after the budget was approved. You all could have found a penny off the tax rate to help the taxpayers. Period.
Thank you. Garth, you want to add to this?
There's always room for improvement, and Larry, your comments are well taken about having, but every council member has been provided not one, not two, but at least 3 copies of the budget that they could look at. And the meetings are open to the public, and we had a public hearing on the budget. So it's not like, and you know, it's not like we're trying to do anything under the cover or anything, but we disagree on certain things, and there is room for improvement. Let's move on.
I wasn't going to bring it up tonight, but it was brought up.
Okay.
And it's on the public, it's on the table, and I'm going to talk about it if it's brought up. But I wasn't going to bring it up, and I wasn't going to bring the other part up either, Bill, as far as the lack of the fact that you looked for a penny to help us out. And you didn't. I don't care what you say.
Okay. Anything else? Steve, did you have something
I'd
you wanted
just
to
like
add?
to add that you don't know that you have any extra money actually until after the fact. And that is for last year. We don't know that we have that until we close the books. And the budget process has already occurred for the next year. You understand that? There's always going to be a timing lag. So information is not perfect.
I understand that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And let me just comment about this, because, and I'm not trying to speak for you, Bill, but I think you're planning to have a finance committee meeting next week so that we can reconcile the budget like what Steve is talking about. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do we have a
Because we
date
really
set?
don't know what we have until the budget is actually reconciled.
Right, and there are things that have, for example, in this last budget where there's slack, if we had moved into this facility earlier, that money goes away. And so it wouldn't have been there. If we would have had any kind of emergency with respect to any kind of maintenance items or something else that money goes away. The fact that we had a little bit of extra just means that we got lucky. There were certain things in the budgets prior, we had built in slack because people weren't good about presenting requests ahead of the budget process. And so we always had built in $20,000 to $25,000, anticipating that somebody was going to need plaques for the Christmas parade, or Founder's Day may not have made a request for paying the Fife and Drum Corps. And those things needed to have some slack in the budgetary process so that when they came to us, we didn't have to turn them away. In this case, some of those things weren't expended because those requests weren't made. And just coming out of COVID, we've had to adjust. And it's really a serendipitous event that we have extra money to begin with because we got lucky on some terms.
Right, and there's also the count of, we don't know what maintenance is gonna come up.
Correct.
Right.
Or we may have budgeted X number of dollars for maintenance, and by golly, we didn't have to do as much as we normally do. So all of these things are factors which can change the final number.
And they did
And
to the better.
and they did.
My point is, it happens almost every year. And my point is, Bill, you don't look. The first thing you look for is you listen to the folks over there. You're concerned about the town government, but secondly, not even secondly, you look at the taxpayers. Not even secondly. I mean, every time I've talked to you about the possibility of doing something, a penny or whatever it is, I mean, it's just brushed aside by all of you, quite frankly.
Okay, let's move on. Thank you.
Did you have something to say, Roy?
Yeah, this 22,000
based on numbers that the treasurer has worked on, I've looked at, that's what we think. That's without any final adjustments that come every year that do it. And they're not audited numbers. And we've spent a whole lot of time this last year getting audited statements. And you don't want to be working with non-audited statements. You want to have somebody who's looked at the books, figured them out right, and that's what you work on. You don't work on, well, we think we've got some extra money. I mean, that's.
And we finally have audited statements after how
Yeah.
many years?
You have audited
Yeah.
statements for, you know,
Up until
Which we
5/31,
did not.
this year,
2021, not
Right.
this year.
not
It's,
22.
we have the beginning balances.
Right.
Well, you found $5,000 pretty quickly, and you could have found $11,000 pretty quickly too, as far as Larry Tuning's concerned.
Well, we could have found a lot. I mean, we could
Absolutely.
have cut out lots of things.
Well,
But
lots of things. We're only talking about 1 penny on the tax rate. Just,
we could have stopped collecting garbage. That would save us $90,000.
oh, come on. I mean,
No, I mean, there are things that you could do.
that is a ridiculous statement. Absolutely ridiculous. There are other ways that we could have cut this thing. I mean, that's the first thing that you all say, and council does it all the time. They point to the few things that we do for the community. Oh, that's what we can cut out. There are other things we could cut out too. I'm not talking about a whole lot of money. You just didn't look.
I've got, look,
Go ahead, Garth.
the couple months before the end of the budget, I kept hearing how much money we were spending. We were spending money fixing up stuff for this town that benefits the residents of the town. And I kept saying the whole time, we've got money, we need to do these things. We did it, and we didn't go broke. But everything that we've done has been for the benefit of the town and the citizens here.
I don't question that, but I think you could have found the money if you'd wanted to. And I get tired of it I feel like I'm the only one that and I'm not smart enough to know how to do it. I guess I'm honest enough to tell you that. But I'm smart enough to know that we have people that are smart enough that can do it here. And I guess you can find ways. Y'all done a great job. I'm not saying you haven't. But I actually blame Bill Goldsmith more than anybody else, Bill. Because I don't think you looked.
No, blame me too, because I'm sitting right next to him.
Well,
I'm right along with you. I'm at every.
next
finance
year,
committee.
please.
I mean, Larry, I think what I have a hard time explaining to you, and I've tried several times, is that the budget process is a set of estimates. We don't know what actually is going to happen. And the idea that we'd come within $22,000 at the end of the year is frankly quite remarkable.
It's
So, I mean-
a 3% swing. I mean, that's not much slack.
So
And
what we'll be watching is how we do actually compared to the budget that we've set. And I think what's heartening is we have a starting point that's been audited. Now we will have an ending point that's been audited. And so we can be acting with a little more precision as this next fiscal cycle winds down. And so it will be a process of elimination throughout the following 12 months to find the 21,000 or 22,000 that you would like us to find.
And just as a general statement, the budget that gets developed for approval at the end of June for the next fiscal year is really a living document.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's a set of parameters, some of which are self-writing, because we know pretty much what the electricity is going to cost because we have a track record on that. And we know basically what the salaries are. And going back to, I think it was 2018 or 2019, that we voted to have a COLA for the employees of this town that was based on what Social Security did. And it was a flaw in the one that we had presented before, that it wasn't in there, but we adjusted it before the final thing because we had already said that we were going to do that for the employees of this town. And that's something that's been out there for now going on at least 3 and maybe 4 years. And so when you say we could have found $11,000, yeah, it's possible. It's not audited yet, but we had already committed ourselves to doing that for the staff. And so we needed to find that money because we had made a commitment to them years ago, and we have done that on an annual basis.
And the challenge for this year, Larry, is now that we have the budget set out, what is it, you challenge us going forward, how are you gonna find me the 22,000 that I would like to have seen before we set that tax rate? So is there a way to save money on electricity that we use to light the whole?
That's not my job, Steve.
Well,
That's not my job. But let me tell you this.
It's
My
everybody.
frustration is that whenever staff wants something, staff gets it. For 3 terms now, and Bill Smith, you tell me if I'm wrong, I have asked for you all to consider twice a year taxes for the community. And every time it gets back to the treasurer or somebody saying, it's not really beneficial to us. Every time. Every year I've asked. Am I right? Every year I asked.
You have.
And every
Yep.
year you say the same thing. And this year you weren't even going to tell me. But you did. I mean, you told me here.
Okay.
And actually, I take it back. Steve Holberg called me and told me, you don't need to, these are things that would help the taxpayers. That's my complaint,
Okay.
is every time I bring up something to help the taxpayer, we don't do a whole lot for the taxpayers. I know you don't want to hear that, but we really don't. We don't have schools. We don't have police. We have garbage collection. We don't have a pool now.
We're working on that.
We're
Working
working
on
on
that.
all those things.
We don't have it right now.
We have street lights.
My point is that when there's an opportunity to help the taxpayer, we need to at least consider it instead of all of you turning your heads away from me, and that's what you basically have done.
May
And-
I
and
make a,
You didn't hold, and Garth, you're right, you all held budget work sessions. And you're right, Steve, you're in that budget work session, but Larry's not. And I need more next year.
Well,
here, wait, I have a suggestion.
yeah.
Larry, it would be very nice if you would make a motion that we can at least discuss and bring it to a vote that we tax the residents twice a year instead of one big one at the end of the year. But that's going to require a motion.
Well, I'll be glad to
Make the motion and I'll second.
I'll be glad to
Well,
make
and
the motion.
I'll further suggest that we add Larry Tuning as a member of the Finance Committee.
Yeah.
I mean, if that helps you at all and gets you into the finance,
And I was thinking the same thing.
yeah, I mean, if you think that would help at all, at least we can have these discussions in a session beforehand.
Yeah.
I mean, you
I feel
you
that
get
would be better.
you get the notices and the copies, but you're telling us you don't understand what they are after the fact. So if we add you to the Finance Committee and make it a challenge to, if we can explain it to Larry, then we can explain it to everybody else as well.
I don't have a problem with that, Steve.
But the
But
tru-
we have $1 million budget. I mean, the county, I know they got a $20-some million budget. But they have budget work sessions where they bring everybody together. And it's not asking too much for those things. It isn't. I'm not asking too much. We did it in the past. We could do it now, and that would help me a lot. I'll make the motion.
you can make the motion
the
now if you
motion.
like.
Yeah.
Well, first, let me close this section and,
She's,
Wait a minute.
hold on a second.
I didn't sign up. Can I just say something really quick?
If you come up to the microphone. We'll bend the rule for you.
Sorry, I didn't. I'll be real quick. Tammy Putney, 36 Meadow Lane. I was looking over the agenda, the water account 7C. I see where you're talking about being in arrears. As a homeowner and renter in town, I have had the occasion where I get a notice from the town that my renter is like $1,800 behind. I know there currently is at $250 for the deposit, I think. So why can't we just at $250 cut that sucker off?
We're gonna be bringing that up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had.
That's why it's on the agenda.
Yeah,
It's on the
I've had
agenda.
a conversation with the past attorney that, he said, well, Virginia says you owe, I owe it. And I get, the past administration got a warrant debt for a place I had over in town. I had no idea. So when you talk about that, just
Oh, yeah,
think
I
about the
remember
absentee people that, when it gets up, if I need to sign something, when it gets up past their, deposit, cut that sucker off. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to close this. Thank you very much. Larry, when we come to new business, please make your motion.
Okay.
Okay? Let's go on to, so we've gotten through the public comment, and let's go on to the reports. Garth, you want to start?
We had a Founder's Day, last Saturday, and, I think it was a tremendous success, and I want to thank everybody that participated and made it possible. We had the fife and drum as usual. We had the Explorer, the Captain John Smith boat in the town green. And one of the things that was a little bit different this year was we had two folks that were not impersonators.
Reenact.
Yeah, that did.
good.
Patrick Henry
They're
and
yeah.
George With. And we had approximately 80 people there, and and they debated the Constitution, and it was indeed very enlightening. I think everybody enjoyed it. And then everybody went down to a lot of people went down to the Scottish Factor, and there was refreshments set up, and it was a fun event. The Urbanna Creek Committee will be presenting a formal report to Town Council in September, I believe, I think they're gonna be trying to have the report ready by the 8th with recommendations on improvements to the marina and the Virginia Street location. We had a meeting with Dave Lipscomb last week, and we're working on making improvements to the website, so that's a work in progress. And it will include improving the calendar with various meetings, so everybody will know what's going on or have the ability to see what's on the calendar. And Mayor, we received 3rd place for being the best main street from the river.
River Magazine.
Yay!
And with council's approval, we'll hang this out here in the lobby.
Absolutely.
Well, I like that idea. We don't need to take
Maybe
a
Mr.
vote, do we?
Maybe Mr. Chalemi would like a picture of that.
Well, I would certainly.
Well, let's wait until,
That's from the readers, that's not from us.
Right.
That's the readers, yeah.
Yep.
So they, I mean, who
Well,
doesn't love
it's-
Urbana? I mean, third
It's a
place, that's-
popularity contest.
The last time we won it, okay, Holly Gailey, myself,
Yeah,
and I can't remember who else. I think Bill Dickinson, who was responsible for a lot of the plantings.
Okay.
We all had a group picture in front of Southside Sentinel and an article, so I would suggest
Well,
that we could do something.
let's do,
Get the mayor
we'll do the
involved.
photo op at the end of the meeting. We're not gonna stop to do it now. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Next year, Mary said we were gonna get first place.
Yeah.
Ah,
That's what you're
Oh,
working.
yeah.
That's your
okay,
bar.
we'll work on that. We'll work on that. Okay, Garth, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Planning Commission?
Okay, Planning Commission met on Tuesday the 9th, had another really productive meeting. We talked about the comprehensive plan. It's been an ongoing matter. It is not an easy matter. I think some significant corners were turned. Wanda Holberg was able to access a version of the plan that I'm not sure that we previously had access to, that now we have in our hands. And so we have a few things yet to do. We're hoping to, Roy is the major person working on that, along with many, many other things at this point. Maps that need to be updated, very difficult to get access to the maps, the particular map sites. It's there's a lot to it, but we have high hopes that we're going to be able to have that done before November. So that is very, very helpful. Also, the current version is on the website, which is required by the new law that went into effect July 1st. Another thing, Main Street, we're continuing to work away on that. We're in the process of inviting those who were interested in serving on a task force to serve on a task force, have an organizing meeting from that task force to then develop an executive committee or guiding committee, a smaller group of people, but to have several layers of involvement in the Main Street Committee. As related to that, Garth and Roy and I and Penny Roberts and Gary Lister met today with Virginia Tourism. Garth and I have talked previously with Virginia Tourism. Laura Messer is our new regional person. Boy, is she a powerhouse. Yeah, really an amazing, amazing contact. Lots of information on grant applications that we could make and that she will help us apply for.
Good.
Yes, including things. One is due on the 22nd of September, and it includes things like non-fixed floating kayak docks.
What do you
And
know?
launches, yes. Oh, yes. So anyway, she was really terrific, and we were pretty excited by the time we got out of there. So that's kind of it on our Main Street efforts. We are inching along. Roy and I are meeting with our representative, Kyle Meyer, virtually next Wednesday, Roy, 10 o'clock. So anyway, that finally got solidified today. On our internet survey, I'm meeting tomorrow with Kevin Gentry. He and I have had a lot of back and forth. I think the good news is that the optical node that needed to be replaced, that replacement process was responsible for the townwide outage last week, a week ago. But that seems to have been done. I'm working with the person who supervises all of their technicians here, and they're checking, of the list of people who took the survey, they're actually going and checking and making sure that their external lines all work, that they are the way they should be. They're replacing ones that need to be replaced. And so we're in the process of checking back with those individuals to say, how is it working? I know mine is better. I haven't dropped connectivity, which is, I was dropping 3 or 4 times a day before the optic node. So anyway, I think especially for those who did participate in the survey, they're going to get something from it. They're going to get that kind of response to check and see at least if everything coming into their homes is working right. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to ask Kevin Gentry to help us see if we can get someone from BreezeLine to come and have an educational meeting with the public to be able to say, here is what would help you with your equipment inside your house once you have signal. Because a lot of people, that's part that we didn't query because we just wanted to know about signal coming in. And so anyway, I'm hoping that we can get BreezeLine. I think we can probably get BreezeLine to come and do that. It may help some people have better connectivity. So that's it on our infrastructure issue of internet. There is a zoning matter that a request for a special use permit that council
He's gonna,
Oh, you're, okay,
That's,
okay.
we're going
going
to handle
talk-
that later.
All right. So we are, we have that matter that we discussed as well. And I think that's it for our zoning,
Planning
our
Commission.
planning commission meeting. Yes. that's
Thank
it.
you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that brings us to 7B, Property Standards Ordinance Inspections. Roy, is that yours?
This is quite unusual. I don't address council very often, but there are a couple of things that have come up that you should be aware of because you may hear responses from citizens. First thing has to do with long grass and junk. We've had a number of complaints about long grass, which hasn't been cut. It's usually on a property owned by somebody who's a non-resident or not a full-timer, very often on a vacant lot. We have attempted to contact the owners. Usually, we get a response. It's not as fast as the people who've complained about it want, but typically, things get cut. We've had also a number of complaints about junk and abandoned cars in residential areas that violate the zoning laws. And one of the offenders that has done that has been cited before. It seems like it's gotten to a point where we're going to have to crack down on some of these offenses. We put a notice on the town website saying that we were going to inspect for violations in the hope that that would change some of the activities. And we would appreciate it if Mr. Chalemi put in the paper that we were interested in a kind of a town cleanup and making sure that properties were tidied up and look the best we can. I've spoken to the town attorney about this, and Sheehan has proposed we consider adopting an ordinance that you have in your materials, which would make it a little easier to go after people. It would replace Chapter 6 of our town ordinances. I'm not asking you to adopt it, just consider it a little bit. It would make it easier for us to go after people who repeatedly don't cut their grass. We wouldn't have to write them a letter every time we got a complaint to do it. We could write them one letter a year. We want to perk up the appearance of the town, and we're trying to figure out ways to do it. We've got grass that's growing up in the sidewalks, in the gutters along the way. None of that really meets any of the standards that we've got. None of it's 12 inches tall or anything like that. We're looking at how we could eliminate that either by spraying it or having it cut back, and just to make the place look better. It looks like, I won't say, but it doesn't look good
there are certain parts of town that,
in certain parts of
Yeah.
town.
That's right.
And many people take it on themselves to go out and clean it. It's not everybody,
Yeah.
but Rappahannock, my deal would be Rappahannock Drive, near Tabor Park. There's a lot of grass growing there, and, that's our responsibility. But, well, I don't know if it's our responsibility. It's probably VDOT's responsibility out in the road, but we're not gonna get anything done waiting for VDOT. So we'll just go ahead and do something about it. And we will let them know if we're gonna put out Roundup, we'll let residents know that it's going out so their dogs won't be sniffing around at the times and, getting sick. But we need to do some things to clean things up. And as I said, I haven't been real energetic on some of this stuff because there were other things that had to be done. But we're at a point now where the residents would appreciate, I think, if we were a little bit more proactive on this stuff. So that's the first thing that you will hear about. And we can consider if we go back and find out that our activities have not been sufficient to energize some of the recalcitrant people may want to consider the legislation that is in your packet. And, that'll be done at a different time. I'm not asking you to do it, just to consider. And if we want to have our town council talk about it a little bit, she can.
So the draft ordinance that's in your packet is actually an update.
It should be on already.
It's actually an update to existing ordinances that you have. The legislature has tweaked the procedures a little bit and has added the category of clutter. So it's not something entirely new, it's just an updated, easier to enforce ordinance.
Okay. And I will add that in the past, as Mr. Mayo knows, if we've had complaints about grass which has not been cut and whose owners have failed to respond and take care of it, the town has gone out and cut the grass and turned around and billed the owner.
That's what this
And we would
proposes.
anticipate continuing that activity. And we've been relatively successful in getting the lawns cut that needed to be cut. When we identified, short of writing letters, but we're at a point where letters may not be sufficient. We may have to do that some more.
The resident has to actually read the letters. So, yeah, okay.
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead.
I have a neighboring property, Roy. I think you and I discussed this earlier, and I've sent everybody kind of a note here on council. I have a property neighboring mine that has allowed kudzu and bamboo to grow, at a tremendous rate. I'm not able to keep up with it, so I called Goat Works out of Lenexa, and they said that they would service the Urbanna area, and they bring in goats temporarily, put them in a temporary fence, let them nibble on the kudzu. They can,
Goats don't eat kudzu.
they control it.
Goats will not eat kudzu.
That's the business that they're in, Billy. I'll give you the phone number.
We tried it, down at my mother's, and they'll eat the little teeny leaves, but the big ones and the vine that grows 3 foot a week, they will not touch it.
Well, I'm going to ask, but the very, huh?
If it works.
That'd be fun.
Well, maybe this guy has different goats that do like kudzu. They're different types, okay? But my question was, I'd like to get from the town administration, if I could, at least a temporary waiver.
That's not
The-
necessary.
No.
Well, I have to present it to him.
It's not necessary.
Then can I have you talk to him directly?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
As
'Cause-
long as they are not resident goats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want them. I don't want them here because they're hard to control. But-
As I am aware, our town code does not allow us
You have livestock.
to keep livestock. They can't be residents here, but it doesn't say you can't bring a goat in.
Okay, well, I want to be above board about this, and I don't want
Right.
somebody accusing me of keeping goats all of a sudden.
The city of Univista does that every year.
Thank you, Garth.
Okay.
They just have to be transient goats.
People wanna
Yes,
accuse
yes,
you.
we
No,
only went
trans-
People may
transient
still
goats.
accuse you.
I would like to say something. It's a little misleading what Mr. Holberg just said about the bamboo. The bamboo isn't encroaching onto his property from a neighboring property. It went from his property to the neighbor's property. So I just would like that to be stated as a fact of the matter. Thank you.
What
Thank
we
you.
do is we keep control of the bamboo on our side.
Okay. We're getting off
And-
point
Yep.
as far as,
Personal.
yes. Let's get back on point to the town business. Thank you. All right, so we've discussed property standards, ordinance inspections, and this is just for our benefit to read and understand. We may want to work on it later.
I would ask that council read it and seriously consider putting it in the town code, because it's nice to have in your toolkit. It doesn't mean that you have to use it, but it's there when you need it.
And it will
Review it
require,
and then bring it up, put it on the agenda for the next meeting
Yes.
for adoption.
it
Yes.
requires a public hearing.
Yeah.
And, because it's a.
Because it's town code.
Damn code. But we can can do that.
All right, if town staff will inform us as to what the proper steps are to do. I know we've got some other things that we probably want to amend the town code with, and that would be good to do it all at the same time. Thank you. Okay, let's go on to water accounts.
The other item that one of the other items that I would like to talk about is that when I took over the maintenance of the water system and the billing tasks 18 months ago, we were involved in the coronavirus, and we were prohibited from shutting off delinquent utility accounts. The mayor also suggested at the time, traditionally, we had attempted to work with residents who were having difficult times. So as a result, we have not threatened anybody in the last 18 months to shut off any water. During that time, we also used federal COVID funds that were available to the town to help pay off $7,500 worth of water bills to residents. So we worked with them. But that money is gone. It had to be applied for, and if people didn't apply for it, we just didn't give it out because, they were overdue. At this point in time, and in the past when I went back and looked at old town council records, a great deal of time was spent on how many people were delinquent and how many people weren't. I haven't focused my activities on that, and it wasn't necessary at this point in time because we couldn't shut anybody off. I mean, what was our recourse? But times are different now. COVID's gotten better. More people are employed. Some people are still having tough times. There's no question about it. But where we are right now is we have 33 accounts that are 90 days overdue or more. 13 of those accounts have a liability of more than $500, and some of them are substantially more than that. Urbanna's, the money that's past due to the town of Urbanna, not HRSD, is about $11,100. And when you look at the total revenue we get of right now, $320,000, that's only about 3.5%. So that's really not a bad number. If credit card companies were doing that well, they would be happy. So this is not a real killer, but there are people who haven't paid, and it's kind of not fair to the other people who have paid. So what we'd like to do is to start out trying to collect these delinquents accounts, and we'll work with people to see if they can come up with something. And they at least ought to be paying what their current amount is due. And if not, we're going to get to a point where we're going to shut people off. And council has just, if they don't want me to do that, that's fine. But I'm telling you, it's coming. And town residents who haven't paid their bills should be aware of that. And nobody's going to get shut off for 3 months or 6 months, but they got to be thinking about what they owe, and it's not fair to everybody else who is paid. So that's an area where you may hear some complaints. Beyond that, Mary alluded to the fact that the town has received an application for a special use permit, and I sent an email around to town council saying that we were thinking about we have to have a public hearing before the planning commission and before the town council. There was a thought that we could combine the two. Town council was gracious enough to all respond that they could attend combined hearing, but it's gonna work out better that we don't do it in a combined way. The planning commission will have their public hearing, and then at the next, workshop, which is, I guess, the 8th, the town council will hold their own public hearing and, take the recommendation from the, planning commission. So you don't have to worry about being around August 31st if you're going on vacation.
Unless you're
It
planning
was just gonna get
commission.
too crowded and confused, to do it all at one time. And I've talked to the, applicant who, submitted the application, and he is fine with those 2 dates, so that's where we'll go. And there's no point in talking about what the special use permit is about. We'll do that at the public hearing, and that'll be it. So
Thank you.
That's my,
Can I ask a question? Is there, back to the delinquent water accounts, to address Mr. Putney's concerns, is there an easy trigger so that as an individual has eaten up their water deposit, landlords could be notified so that they don't get stuck for $1,800?
Yes, there are some state law provisions that I think could be helpful to him, and I actually just emailed Michelle and asked her to send me the forms that she uses so we can
Okay.
make sure that we have that available.
and we have been requested by one landlord to make sure that he knows how his tenants are doing. And I don't know if we can do that, but we probably can, and we would wanna work with him.
Well,
'Cause we don't want people to get behind.
Right,
No,
I'm
but
just
there's-
thinking when it hits like $200 or something like that, you notify the landlord as well.
Right.
I just want to make a quick comment, correction to the packet. In the fiscal index is the total of outstanding balances of approximately $30,000. That was going off an Excel spreadsheet that I had, that I was looking at when I wasn't feeling well, that the numbers that the sum was incorrect. So it's, what Roy said is closer to $11,000.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, that makes a lot
Okay.
more sense.
All right.
Yeah.
There-
Yeah, I was like
It does.
apoplectic.
Okay.
but-
It is Sue going this way instead of coming down this way.
And I was just going off the spreadsheet that I had.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute, I have a question or a comment here. Please correct me, Andrea, if I'm wrong, but is there not a problem with the health department of having someone living in a residence with no running water?
You can disconnect them.
You can disconnect them. Okay, thank you.
And we do have locks, available to us, that if we shut the water off, we can lock their
Oh,
meter.
yeah.
Okay, and the thing is that we need to work with them, but I think, once COVID happened, nobody had to pay. I think in some cases, they're trying to take advantage of the system. You know, and I feel for Tammy, I don't think Tammy should be getting a notice that his tenants are behind that much, you know, and him not know about it. I know that his tenants have signed water service agreements with this town. And in doing so, they need to be held accountable for that.
Well, I don't mind at all Tammy being notified of a delinquency if we could do it legally. I wonder whether we really ought to be going after the landlord. I mean, it should have been our job to shut the tenant down and not have it on the landlord.
But then also notify the landlord that.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, because if they're having trouble with their water, they're probably having trouble with their rent, so.
Right.
We have quite a few renters in the town, as everybody knows. And Tammy has talked to me before about this, and then we've got another guy that has numerous rental properties, like Roy said, that is concerned about the same thing. And I would suggest that if we're gonna have a finance committee meeting, that we sit down and flesh this out as to
Work at the,
whatever the procedure is gonna be, so that we can draft that and then have it.
Right.
Consistently
Be
approved.
proactive
Right.
about getting it out. Here's how the town is handling this henceforth, and let the
Thank you.
Should we let Tammy be a part of that process, as an example, as a landlord?
I think he's made his needs known.
Together.
Yeah.
And we can give it to
Gotcha.
them and let them look at it.
Yeah.
That'll be
That's cool.
satisfies.
It's workable.
I would think he'd be happy with just anything that we could do that would help him out with that.
Just get the monkey off his back.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I want to ask a question to Roy, and that is, so if now the special use permit hearing is going to be bifurcated, and there are going to be two, there is none on the 31st, but there will be at the next planning commission meeting? Is that what?
No.
The 31st is
the
the planning,
31st.
is the one for the planning commission. And I would just say, please come. Please come so that we don't have to agonize over all of it again at the council meeting. Planning commission is open. Right?
It
Te-
is.
Technically, I
It
think.
is.
Staff can also summarize for the town council if you're not able to come.
Yes.
My experience has been, in the course of SUP consideration, that neighboring properties have to be informed
Correct.
of
Yes,
this.
that's
And
true.
so the nearest parties to this are going to be notified.
Right.
Yeah, we have to put
Yes.
advertisements in the
Right.
paper, and we have to
There's a whole
mail
process.
letters to the
To them.
adjacent
Yes.
property owners.
Right.
But the 31st is the hearing,
31st is the
with the planning commission, so, yes.
Well, the way that this generally happens is the planning commission makes a presentation and the town council then hears the presentation, takes it under consideration,
Right.
may or may not agree with the recommendations.
Right.
Okay,
And until such time as you have the public hearings, I would ask you to not discuss it or make a decision about it. The purpose of the public hearings is for the applicant to have a fair and impartial
Right.
decision maker.
Right.
thank you. Okay. Let's get on to action items, and I'm just looking at this. I think we're going to, is it too late to have an amendment to the agenda to add Larry's thing, or can we just bring that in under new items? We don't have new items under there.
Yeah, I was looking at that. Could we put it under the action items, though?
I was thinking we should put it under the action items. Could we make it action number E?
E.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda under action items. Letter E would be Larry Tuning to make his motion.
okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. Any discussion?
I'm sorry,
Goldsmith.
Goldsmith.
Dr. Goldsmith. All right, so let's go ahead and vote. Marjorie,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mayor votes yes. Okay, so we just added E to 8. All right, so let's go on with minutes. I do have, before we start on that, I have two little corrections myself on the minutes. They're typos. Okay, on page 2 of 7, let me see, 1, 2, 3, the end of the third bullet. After all lines have been moved, Dominion will remove all pools, and the town will make necessary. That should be poles.
Where was this?
1, 2,
Page
3,
2.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8th line, page 2.
Yeah, but that's awful nice of them to take.
To take the old pools out, yeah. Just change pools to poles. Page 2, and there's one other one, where did I see that one? Dang. I'm sorry. Okay,
It
yes,
says her
page
instead of
7
here.
of 7. This is very minor, under adjourn, council members Smith,
I know, I saw that.
Smitty.
should be Smith,
And if I'm gonna be doing the motion to adjourn, I have to have my name right.
yes.
okay. And that's,
I
Thank
was gonna let it go, but I saw it.
Yeah.
So that, I think that the motion, if someone other than the mayor makes it, should be to accept the minutes as amended.
I move to accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. I object when we all have the opportunity to read through the minutes ahead of time, that we take time to do typo corrections. I think it is unfair to staff who work very, very hard on creating minutes and feels like being called out publicly for typos. This is not just today. This is an ongoing issue. I think that if it's something substantive that changes something that we're going to do, then I think we should bring these things up. But otherwise, we all have the opportunity to proofread them in advance. Like Bill Smith said that he noticed that he was Smith, but he was just going to let it go. But we could all tell, we could respond. We're given the opportunity to respond, give the typos, give whatever, instead of doing it in public. That's my comment.
Well, I appreciate your comment, and theoretically, that's what we should be doing, but sometimes these things get away from us, and we need to do it. And it's not a shame on you, it is just a typo, and it's just getting the record straight.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're in the vote. Mary?
No.
Okay, Steve?
The minutes as amended, is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes. Bill?
Yes.
Mayor votes yes. Motion passes, thank you.
I don't think we voted.
I don't think
Yeah,
they
we
voted.
didn't vote.
I thought you did. Oh.
You're
Did
close
vote.
to
I thought
quorum,
we
just one more and you got a
started
quorum, no.
No, we started there.
No.
Marjorie?
Yes,
Larry?
Yes, I don't necessarily disagree
Yes.
with what Murray said, though.
exactly.
Okay.
No.
Now it passes. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We should do that, but in the event that it doesn't happen, we'll still have to do the same process. Okay. We are now scheduled to go in, oh no, E. Larry.
You didn't do B?
You didn't do B and
B,
C.
C, or
I'm
D,
sorry,
or
Mary
E.
just threw me totally off. No, I'm sorry. It's not your fault. It's me. Okay, so minutes are done. Fund transfer, pool fund, replacements reserve.
Yeah, in response to the observation made by Roy and the finance staff that we had approximately 20,000 in surplus from the prior year, my suggestion was to go ahead and transfer that to the pool fund replacement reserve at Truist. And I'm perfectly willing to leave that open for discussion amongst the finance committee. But as seeing as how Dr. Goldsmith is here and Garth is here, perhaps you could lend me your thoughts.
I think that things like that, it's not that much money, but we have had projects. The one that comes to mind is we had sidewalk repairs that were slated in 3 different phases. We did phase 1, and over the last 2 years, they've sort of disappeared. I would rather see those funds be used to and augmented maybe with a little CARES money, fix the sidewalks rather than putting it in reserve, because putting it in the reserve is just moving funds so it looks like we're doing something, and I think we would be better served if we actually did something.
Well, I'm certainly, and that's my intent of my motion, is to call attention to the fact that we do have the option to make a choice, a reasoned choice about what to do with surplus.
Right.
And my first suggestion is simply that, knowing as we want to raise money to replace the pool, that this would be one option. And I'm perfectly open to entertaining other options. However, it seems like since we're woefully behind on a primary goal, which is raising funds for the pool, that would be a logical choice, certainly not the only one.
Okay.
Respectfully turn it back to you.
Well, the question really is, will that take away any buffer that we need for other unforeseen things or things we have put off in the past and we really should be looking at now? Because it's so easy to say we're going to do this, as you said, in 3 stages, and you do stage 1, and then life happens and things happen, and then you get to the point where you realize, holy cow, we didn't do stage 2. Now, if we've got the money in the reserve, we've got the money there, it seems to me appropriate to go ahead and spend it. Garth? Okay.
No, I tend to be consensus driven, and I also like using committees to get things done. We have a finance committee, and we also have other budgetary issues that we need to review and bring back to council for their, and I believe this should be part of that package. It goes to the finance committee, they discuss it, and then they come forward and make a recommendation to council, and then you all make the decision whether it goes there or goes wherever.
I'm perfectly okay with that, and
Right.
I'll withdraw my motion accordingly with that understanding. I just want us, we have always been in a position, in my opinion, that we come to the end of the year, and in past years, we haven't really known what that number is. We've had several years that haven't been audited until recently. So you can't come to the end of a year and say, oh, well, we have extra money left over. You haven't been there. Now that we do, please let us make a conscious choice about what to do with that instead of allowing it to go by the wayside. And that would hold true of the next motion, which I will gladly withdraw. For the water fund, we have a surplus in the water fund of about $150,000, which is entirely appropriate, given the fact that you have increased water usage with more people having stayed here, particularly during COVID. You may have a bump up from more users at Bethpage. Plus, we're looking for ways to begin to raise revenue to ensure that we do have a reserve and that we're reserving for capital improvements for the future, as
Okay.
Mr. Smith has been working on. And so, yes, I'll gladly, withdraw the motion, but I want us to do something for Pete's sake.
Thank you, Steve.
Concerning-
Go ahead.
Mr. Smith?
Concerning the water,
ahead.
Go ahead.
water right now. As you know, the water committee's been working hard. It's always brought everything up to the council on what needs to be done and what is going to happen. We have a well that's being put in at a tune of $1,056,000. We have a USDA loan, but that loan won't get to us till after the project's done. There's going to be some expenses in there,
Right.
okay, that we don't know about. Also, with the infrastructure, that was a $7.6 million. We're applying for VDH funding on that now. There's going to have to be studies done, hydrological studies done, to make sure that we do this correctly. Those are going to be expenses. I feel it's busy work, taking that money and putting it into the reserve and then having to pull it out to pay for these expenses. It's just busy work. Just let it sit there. It's not going to hurt anything, but we'll allow our staff to be more nimble in allocating those funds that are needed.
That's, I will accept that as an explanation.
Okay, thank you. So basically, you're withdrawing the pool transfer fund and the
There
water
wasn't
transfer
any
fund.
motion made.
Okay,
There was no motion.
so we will not make a motion on that.
Yeah.
Thank you, and we've
Strike it.
discussed it. Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss it.
thank
So that we
you.
understand what we're doing.
Yeah, okay, so that brings us to the VDH funding application for water infrastructure upgrades. And Bill, have you touched on that already?
I just did just a few seconds ago.
Okay.
But this is one we have to make a motion to allow Roy to sign off on the application. It's just the application for the VDH funding. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize Roy Keim to sign as the town's representative the VDH funding application as prepared by AH Environmental Consultants.
Second.
A motion is made and seconded. Any discussion?
It's a lengthy document. We're just getting it. I think it's something that people need to read over.
What, the VDH application?
Yeah.
The Water Committee has read it over. They've gone through it. We've had Zoom meetings with AH Environmental. We've made all the changes that are necessary. It's ready to go. Now, it has, it's a 10-page application, not too bad, but the attachments, 254 pages. Do you want it all?
I think Mr. Kimes very well capable of making the decisions and
Yes.
signing the documents that are necessary.
And that is why we have a water committee, so that that group of people can look these things over and everybody else in the world doesn't have to.
And as Garth said before, and the committee makes the recommendation to the council.
That's right. All right, so we've had a motion, we've
And a
had
second.
discussion, we've had a second. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All right, Marjorie?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Steve?
No.
Bill?
Yes.
Mayor votes yes. Okay. Thank you. Now, Larry,
Okay.
do you have a motion to make?
Yeah, I do.
Is your
Um,
microphone on?
Pardon me?
Is your recorder on?
The light's on.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we instruct Michelle Hutton, our treasurer, to meet with the county treasurer and the county commissioner to get her take advantages and disadvantages on twice-a-year taxation, bring it back to council for discussion.
Second.
That sounds reasonable to me. Any further discussion?
Well, I would like to allow Michelle some leeway as to how she goes about crafting this solution.
Well, I think
Well-
that's what Larry's saying in the motion.
Yeah.
so
See how she can figure out what,
Right.
Yeah.
present us
Yeah.
with the pros
Okay,
and
because I
cons.
want to be in a position where telling her,
No, what we're
She's
doing,
gotta get-
we're giving her the opportunity
Right.
to meet with the county and get ideas or possibly instruction
on how to
and-
do it.
on
On
how to do it, and then come back and present us, and then we can work
And
with
whether-
her.
With the assumption with the capital A, we do it once a year, so what will happen is that'll be broken in half.
Yeah.
And it's a huge undertaking. I can show you that in November, my stack, my files are this wide, and it's here till late hours at night. Because then the other part of it is you have all the, escrow companies that pay into these
Right.
CoreLogics and banks. So you need to go back in and wipe out all the reporting companies, then they will send you files, and it's several weeks of updating the tax records, who will be escrowed, who will not be escrowed. And then it's a lot of reporting back and forth, and then actually the collection. And this time of year, when it's my per se downtime, these folks can attest, meals tax, lodging taxes, personal property taxes, and delinquent real estate went out today. So I use this little bit of time I have to sweep in everything that's hanging out there. Today I spend my day looking on folks who actually had credits, and how can I apply that to an outstanding balance. So, there's an expense of all the envelopes and the paper and the postage.
Michelle, I know in California, at least Orange County, they send out their tax bills with 2 coupons and
Right.
2 envelopes.
Yeah, I get one of those too.
And so it's only mailed out once. Now, that may not, it's going to save some expense because you don't have to do 2 mailings. I don't know whether that would streamline your process or not. And then the other question I had is, does Edmunds have any kind of module that would streamline that for you?
No, because we receive the files from the county, I need to go to Edmunds and have their support online to bring that file in and upload it to our system.
Okay. Is the county still on Bright?
Yes.
Oh,
And is the county is doing this twice a year, though.
right.
And we're doing it once a year.
And do
have
you know
once.
why they're doing it twice a year, Michelle? You all know why they're doing it twice a year? The same things that you're saying, the treasurer said time and time again to the Middlesex County Board of Supervisors. And then one year, guess what? They miscalculated the budget, and they needed money quickly. instead of doing it for the taxpayer like I want to do it, we're going to end up doing it one day. One day we're going to make a mistake, and we're going to need money quickly, and that gives you a half a year ahead of time. County got that. That helped them get out of the stickler they were in. That's not what I want. I mean, I know you can do it. I know you can.
Okay, well,
But I've got a motion on the floor.
Yep.
I know.
I am not bucking you. I am telling you the pros and the cons of doing, if there was more staff, it wouldn't be a problem at all. But currently, the treasurer does accounts payable, accounts receivable, HR. They're doing everything, where the county has all these individual departments.
And we've
And
got
that's
one
why I'm
person.
saying it's a heavier load,
Okay,
really, to do it twice. If you want it twice, we will get it done twice. I'm telling you the pros and the cons of
Would you,
what I know.
would
Okay.
you talk, will you talk to the treasurer?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
commissioner?
Okay.
Find out.
well,
Motion
let's,
isn't unreasonable. We'll look into it.
Right,
yes,
exactly.
yeah.
Margie?
Okay, so motion is on the floor. We've had discussion. We may or may not move through with the twice a year, but the motion isn't to make this twice a year. The motion
It's to
is,
examine.
is to ask you to examine and to talk with the county and see if it is feasible for us and come back. Okay, so let's go ahead with a vote.
Just one other, it might be helpful for council if you could sort of come up with an assessment of extra man-hours and costs associated with, in terms of what it's gonna cost the county to do it. I understand where Larry's coming from, and I know it helps people to spread their tax payments out. But it would be nice
Yeah.
in the examination of the process to know what the difference in our cost would be because of your time and the mailings and those kinds of
And
things.
you could come back with a one-page full of bullets.
Back with a study.
Yeah.
And also the
think there's a
advantage
one-time cost,
of, advantage
too,
of getting
on the
that
treasurer.
money. I know you only do it one time, but Middlesex County did it. And I know why they did it, but you need to ask them why they did it.
Okay, well, I'm going to cut off conversation right now. We're going to take a vote. Marjorie?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Steve?
No.
Bill?
Yes.
Mayor votes yes. Motion passes. Okay, now, Garth, do we still need to go into a closed meeting?
Yeah.
Okay,
Before we do that, I would just like to say that, second Saturday is Saturday, and it is at Tabor Park. And, we have 5 food trucks, the breweries, the winery is coming, and several vendors, and a kids section with some games.
thank you,
So 4 to 8, if you guys can make it, it would be greatly appreciated.
thank you. Bill, you want to read it?
I move to go into closed meeting pursuant to section 2.2-3711A3 Code of Virginia, discussion or consideration of the disposition of a publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the town of Urbanna, the sale of the 45 Cross Street property.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All right, Marjorie, don't go away. You got to vote. Well, go ahead. Vote yes. Larry?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Bill? Yes. Mayor votes yes.
Now you
All
can
right.
kick them out.
Now you can kick him out.